Yes, indeed, folks, listen to Blue Please here on SingleBrits.com with myself, Total Biscuit. Okay, so, this particular segment applies to both WoW and StarCraft 2, but it was inspired by a post over on Team Liquid, which is a primarily StarCraft-focused site. I'm going to read a section of it for you to give you an impression as to the kind of thing that I'm going to be talking about. This applies to just Blizzard in general, and WoW, of course, as well. And it's about slacktivism, more so than anything. A term that I love to use and perhaps overuse. So, it's by Plethora, and he is opposed to over on Team Liquid, and I'm not here to mock him or anything like that, because his heart's in the right place, but I have a feeling that he is grossly naive as to how the real world works. So, here's the post. He says, "Here's the thing, folks. Petitions and open letters won't work because Blizzard is well aware of our opinion. Repeatedly posting about the same issues on the BNet forums and here and other SC fan sites doesn't do much good." This is all about Battle.net 2.0, incidentally, which actually does affect you, because Battle.net 2.0 is going to be in WoW as well. So you should be concerned as to the future of this system, because it will affect you even if you don't touch StarCraft 2 in your life. Anyway, here are the things we should be doing. First and foremost, vote with your wallet and cancel your pre-order, or at least, very, very least, hold off on purchasing the game right away. If you're destined to be the next Flash or J-Dong, and those are pro StarCraft players in Korea, by the way, starting a little late won't prevent that from happening. 2, there are 2 groups of people we should be trying to convince. First is the more mainstream gaming media. We should be posting on GameSpot, 1UP, IGN, etc., and the forums. We should be writing to the controllers of those websites and attempting to convince them that this is an issue that should be covered. Secondly, we should be taking the argument to potential players and gamers who don't frequent StarCraft fan sites. Most of the gaming world at least has some interest in SC2, but the vast majority of those people do not come to TL, that's Team Liquid, and aren't in the beta. Fortunately, you can cover your bases with these people the same way as the previous set, that being post about all the issues on mainstream gaming site forums. Again, we're talking about GameSpot, 1UP, etc., and a lot of people will tell you they don't care about LAN, or cross-ROM play, or chat, or the state of leagues, but post anyway. Some people will care, and I feel that there are really enough things wrong to cause even some of the more casual types to stop and think for a moment. And lastly, and this is probably the thing that I have the biggest problem with, give the game 1-star ratings or the equivalent wherever possible. Ratings absolutely positively do matter, whether it seems silly to us or not. There are people out there that base their purchases on ratings. If there is enough anger out there and it translates into poorer than expected ratings, Blizzard will lose sales, and you can be sure they will take notice then, so let's get to work. Okay. Right, I think that bit right there is the problem that I have the biggest issue with that statement, honestly. Because there are some things that can work and there are some things that don't. But what we're effectively talking about right here is attempting to influence the development process and development decisions of perhaps the largest game company in the world. Indeed, Activision Blizzard, big publisher, almost the largest, maybe even now the largest, certainly rivaling EA, and Blizzard, easily the most well-funded gaming development house on the planet, by a significant margin. And we're trying to influence them by threatening them over Amazon.com. Right, okay. That doesn't even work against small authors. And we've seen these protest ratings over and over again. That doesn't even work against them, let alone against Activision Blizzard. Would you like to perhaps present me with an example of when exactly the star rating thing has caused a positive change in development habits for any games company? Name one. I can think of only one, and even then, that is not necessarily got anything to do with the star ratings, and can be attributed more so than anything, according to EA anyway, to piracy, and that was with Spore. And there are a number of different aspects with that. For one thing, Spore was effectively a lie. I mean, they promised something that was, let's be honest, unobtainable. I mean, they showed something that looked like the best game ever made, and in fact, it ended up being a clay modeling system with a bunch of minigames attached to it. A subpar RTS, a subpar 4X, subpar RPG. God, it was the biggest disappointment of that year for me. Now, as a result of that, supposedly, EA rescinded their DRM-heavy approach. That said, that may have also been to do with the fact that Spore got the crap pirated out of it, and they put together a really impressive DRM system that completely failed them. It cost them a bunch of money. They didn't get them anywhere. But as it would appear, they're right back on with that with Command & Conquer 4, as we've seen requires the consistent internet connection. Ubisoft doing that as well, and indeed are continuing to do that regardless of the massive uproar, and I do mean huge uproar, over the Assassin's Creed 2 DRM system. Do they care? No! They've shown no sign of caring at all. Indeed, they've been rather rambunctious about it. They've been rather proud of the fact that supposedly this system prevented piracy for about a week until it was properly cracked. They're continuing to release games using it. I believe they now have 4 out with the always-on DRM system, and they see no reason, apparently, to stop. Here's the conclusion to that. Gamer activism sucks. Completely and totally sucks. Now, I do have someone saying that Ubisoft's DRM was cracked in 24 hours. Not actually true. It was cracked, but only partially. Here's the thing, and this is not relevant to WoW, but I'd like to explain it anyway. Modern DRM systems are not easily cracked. As in, you appear to have cracked them incredibly quickly, but what ends up happening is you find the game's got a bunch of bugs in it. I mean, for instance, Batman Arkham Asylum, you couldn't glide at a part of the game if you were using a cracked version. It's hidden traps, indeed, set in the game to prevent people from playing it if they pirate it. And it takes actually quite a long time to remove all of those. In the case of Ubisoft DRM, it has certain pieces of information on the server that must be downloaded completely in order to properly emulate. So, anyway, that's how it works. Now, whatever the case, it's got nothing to do with it. The point is that you can't bully a company that has more money than God. You cannot do it. Now, I view things like 1-star ratings and electronic petitions and stuff like that to actually have a negative impact on our influence as a market force. A prime example would be another Activision game, Modern Warfare 2. A huge boycott. Huge boycott organised against that. Did it work? Absolutely not. For God's sake, the Stimulus map pack has been in the top 3 since it was released on Steam. PC gamers paying money for a map pack. How far we have fallen. That is how ineffectual we are. You all saw the screenshot of the Boycott Modern Warfare 2 group. On launch day, 3/4 of them were playing Modern Warfare 2. I mean, good lord, we are an utterly ineffectual market force. And you know why? We are seen as childish and impotent. And why do you think that is? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because we are. Therein lies the real, genuine problem with it. Things like, oh, let's downgrade it to 1 star. All that shows is dishonesty, bile, and hate. You could never argue that, say, Assassin's Creed 2 is a 1-star game. You could never argue that StarCraft 2 is a 1-star game. It is not. Not by any objective, quantifiable, or common sense standard are any of those games 1-star games. For God's sake, not even Wrath of the Lich King is a 1-star game, and this has been the worst expansion of the law. It is dishonesty, and you are fighting corporate tactics which are anti-consumer by being dishonest. Indeed, being a dishonest consumer. The very tactics that they are employing are designed specifically against dishonest consumers. And we're talking about the whole DRM system, the way the Battle.net is put together, the way that LAN play is being restricted. That, their excuse at any rate, let me just preface this by saying in no way do I believe that they're right to do this. It's asinine that there is no LAN play available in that, and apparently no LAN play in Diablo 3. For God's sake, the majority of Diablo 3 play was done on LANs. At least Diablo 2 at any rate. LAN parties had Diablo all the time. StarCraft, major LAN. Huge LAN and a massive competitive scene, I might add, that relies on zero latency connections for maximum effect. Unreliable matchmaking systems do not a good esports game make. I mean, Christ. How long have they been working to make Counter-Strike as absolutely perfect as possible? You can go on frame rate servers that have 1,000 FPS! 1,000! Think about that! 1,000 frames per second. Why? Because that's best for the competitive environment. That's how far that went. and Blizzard's idea of creating the next esports sensation is to take a 10-year step back. Think about that. It's asinine. But you cannot say that Battle.net 2.0 makes StarCraft 2 worthy of 1 star. 1 star, that's 20%, 2 out of 10. I can think of a few games that got 2 out of 10. Let's go on a little field trip, shall we? I'm going to go to IGN. Let's see if I can find it. I wonder what the worst rated games are over on IGN. Now, obviously, a 5-star system is not necessarily equivalent, but according to Metacritic it is. They rate 5 stars as 100%, they rate 4 as 80%. It's kind of insane, is it not? But it's true. That's what they believe it is. That's how they quantify it. Indeed, Metacritic now being the most powerful force in the PC, in any gaming market, honestly, when you think about it. No, we're not looking for recently updated. I want to browse all. How hard is that? Oh god, IGN is so freaking hopeless. I want to see ratings for all games. We're not going to do that because we're incredibly dumb. Christ on a bike. Why? Anyway, whatever. You look at stuff like Barbie's Horse Adventures, friggin' big rigs over-the-road racing. That is 1 point away, ladies and gentlemen, from universal dislike. That is the quantification. That is the description for that kind of rating on Metacritic. Universal dislike for StarCraft 2? Are you serious? Don't be ridiculous. And the problem with this, and this applies to WoW as well, is when you take these extreme measures, you look like you're trying to rage against the machine. And you know what? It doesn't work. You look like an idiot. And worse still, you make the rest of us look like idiots. The boycotts and the outcry and the slap in the face Blizzard that happen all the time on the WoW forums, they make us look like idiots. You know, the most deadly thing, the most potentially deadly thing that would actually make Blizzard change its mind is not someone shouting and screaming from the rooftops and not other people joining in simply because they want to feel like they're part of a cause and they're righteous and they're battling against the system, har har, and all that stuff. Put on your Battle of Los Angeles CDs, it's getting serious up in this, that I can tell you. No. The real market force within any Blizzard game is the guys that en masse quit and put their reason in the quit form. Because those are actually red. They don't rage out on the forums, they just say, I have cancelled my subscription. You can see here in black and white, I am voting with my money and my feet. 1-star ratings, lying, raging, petitions. God, how much damage has the image of the PC gaming scene had recently? And you got a bunch of console gamers now saying that PC gamers are entitled elitists because of all of this nonsense. They don't even understand because all they see from us is not rationality and real concern and genuinely well-written complaints. No, what they see is anger and fury. What they see is, say, over the Left 4 Dead 2 debacle. They see the PC gaming community tearing itself apart when the two guys that were actually heading up this boycott were approached by Valve, and Valve tried to calm their concerns down by actually showing them something. Surely that was what they wanted. They wanted their concerns addressed. But no, apparently, most of the guys in that boycott didn't want the concerns addressed. They just want to get angry about something. So, when those guys were flown out there and shows like, hey look, there's Left 4 Dead 1 stuff coming out, and indeed there is. We've already had content, more is on the way for Left 4 Dead. The original Left 4 Dead. After all of that, what did the majority of that boycott do? They shouted at the guys, they tore each other apart, they got in a huge flame wars, and at the end of the day, the entire thing goddamn evaporated in a puff of smoke and blood after the nerds had finished beating each other up over the internet. That's the sad reality of it all. That's who we are right now as a PC gaming base. And the WoW community, and now indeed the StarCraft 2 community, is very, very close to being regarded as utterly ineffectual. We rage against everything, and yet we buy the retarded horse by our hundreds of thousands. You know what, as far as I'm concerned, anyone that buys the retarded horse has no right to complain about anything, because you've just shown that you will swallow literally anything that is fed to you by Blizzard and Activision. Don't expect to be taken seriously after that. That's the kind of principle that you just can't go back from. Don't whine to me about lack of content when you're willing to pay $25 for a reskinned horse mount. What I'm suggesting is that you are engaging in what is effectively an almost impossible task. It is not going to be accomplished by internet petitions, getting angry on forums, or writing one-star Amazon reviews in poorly spelled gibberish. That is not going to help. It's going to make us look like morons. Please stop it. I would like, as a gamer, to be respected in terms of my consumer buying power and my consumer discretion. I mean, for God's sake, how many development houses have gone under because freaking gamers have such bad taste? They don't buy original products. Clover, prime example. God Hand and Akami, two of the best games ever released on console. What happened? The studio went under because people would rather buy FIFA 10. Christ. Slacktivism sucks. If you want to be taken seriously, then start acting like an adult. My name is Total Biscuit. You're listening to Blue Please here on CynicalBrit.com. Going to come back after the break with the illusion of choice. Yes, indeed. The way to do things, I think. In the meantime, I'd like to present you with some Saxon, I think, honestly. Denim and leather. Enjoy.